Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support me. The frozen winds howled endlessly across the desolate landscape, slamming against the reinforced biodomes that housed the mining colony. Inside, the rhythmic hum of the geothermal power system was the only thing standing between the colonists and the bitter cold outside. Alina Moreau stood by the control console, her brow furrowed as she studied the power output. Something was wrong again. Kai, I need you in the main control room, Alina said, her voice steady despite the rising frustration. Derate the power as fluctuating again. A few moments later, Connie Wu arrived, bundled in her heavy engineer song coat, her cheeks red from the brief exposure to the cold. She moved quickly to the console, tapping at the control. These fluctuations have been getting worse, Kavi muttered. More to Alina. Could be another fault in the geothermal regulator. I'll check it out. Alina nodded, her thoughts momentarily drifting to the challenges they'd faced establishing the colony on this ice-covered planet. The promise of untapped mineral wealth had been too great for Earth's as governments to resist. But living in such a hostile environment was proving to be more difficult than anyone had anticipated. Endless ice storms, extreme cold, and now these unexplained power fluctuations. Before Ki could leave to check the geothermal systems, the door to the control room slid open again. Dr. Marcus Green strode in, his excitement palpable despite the grim surrounding. Captain, you need to see this, he said, breathless. Hawaii, the team found something during their last excavation. I believe it's a life form frozen beneath the surface. Alina's gaze snapped to green life here on this godforsaken planet. You can be serious, Alina said, folding her arms. This planet has been scoured by ice for millennia. There is no way anything could survive here. Green's eyes gleamed. That's is different. The structure ... is ours, almost crystalline, and it's just emitting a faint bioenergy signal. I need to study it further. This could be the discovery of a lifetime. Alina glanced at Kai, whose expression mirrored her own doubt, but the colony needed results. If Green's discovery held any merit, it could secure more funding and resources for the struggling outpost. Alina said, but be careful. I don't want to take any chances with something we don't understand, dear. Green grinned, already half out the door. Trey, you wonder, regret that. Later that evening, Green stood in the excavation chamber, deep beneath the colony. The crystalline structure was massive, its jagged surface gleaming faintly under the artificial light. Encased within it was something large, something alive, or at least it had been alive at some point. Now it was trapped in the ice, its form distorted by millennia of freezing. Green adjusted his visor, scanning the entity. The bioenergy readings were faint but unmistakable. This thing, whatever it was, still held some trace of light. He activated the melting device, directing it at the ice around the creature. Slowly, the ice began to thaw, revealing more of the alien size form. It was humanoid in shape, though larger than any human, with elongated limbs and a skull-like face that sent a shiver down Green's spine. As the ice continued to melt, a sudden pulse of energy radiated from the creature, causing the lights in the chamber to flicker. Green stepped back, his heart pounding. The pulse was brief, but it was enough to confirm what he suspected. The creature was waking up. The next morning, Ilala, awakened by the sound of alarms blaring. Through the colony, she jumped out of bed, grabbing her comms device. What the hell is going on? Karia's voice crackled through the speaker to the power grid, saying, something's disrupting the geothermal systems. I am at the control room now, but we need to act fast or we'll lose heat and power completely. Alina cursed under her breath as she pulled on her coat and raced out of her quarters. As she reached the control room, she found Kai frantically working to stabilize the power flow, her fingers flying across the console. What happened? It's like something hit the grid with an energy surge, Eklitina said, her voice tense. I say, but the source ... is sun coming from below, deep below. Alina's stomach sank. Green. The two women exchanged a glance, both understanding the implications. Alina tapped her comm. Green, report, she ordered. There was no answer. Damn it, Alina muttered. Kaya, stay here and do what you can to keep the power stable. I am going down there. Grabbing a thermal pack and her sidearm, Alina hurried to the excavation site. As she descended into the ice tunnels, the temperature dropped sharply, her breath misting in the air. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional creak of ice shifting around her. When she reached the excavation chamber, the sight before her stopped her cold. The crystalline structure was gone in its place, stood the alien tall, grotesque, its icy prison shattered. Its eyes black and void, like glowed with a dim inner light, Green lay on the ground nearby, unconscious, but alive. Elena Sinan went to her sidearm as she slowly approached the creature. It didn't move instead. It watched her, its head tilting slightly as if studying her. She tapped her comms. Tirai found green ... it SOA. Get out of there. Callie says, voice came through. Sorry, the bioenergy readings are off the charts. That thing is dangerous. Elena didn't need to be told twice. She holstered her weapon and grabbed Green by the arm, dragging him toward the exit. But as she did, the alien raised one of its elongated arms, releasing a pulse of energy that sent a shockwave through the chamber. Elena stumbled, barely managing to keep her balance as the walls trembled. Ice cracked and fell around them, and for a moment, she thought the entire tunnel system would collapse. But then just as suddenly as it had started, the pulse stopped. Elena glanced over her shoulder. The alien hadn't moved from its spot, but the air around it shimmered with residual energy. It was as though the creature had merely flexed its power, giving her a warning. We need to get back to the colony, Elena muttered, pulling Green up and moving faster now. Back in the colony's medical bay, Dr. Green stirred as Elena and Kai stood over him. His face was pale, his breathing shallow, but he was alive. What the hell happened down there? Elena asked, her voice hard. Rick, that thing nearly brought the whole colony down with it. Green opened his eyes, his gaze distant. It's sent. Alive, Derek, he whispered. Dear, more than that. It's where? Yeah, well, it nearly killed us all, Elena snapped. Mitt, here, what were you thinking? Messing with something we don't. Green struggled to sit up, his body weak from the shock of the bioenergy pulse. You don't understand. This creature at sight, ancient, older than anything we've ever encountered. It was trapped in the ice, yes, but not by chance. It was imprisoned. Elena's frown deepened. Green shook his head. I don't know, but we've unleashed something we can control. It's not just a life form, it's something far more powerful. And now it's suddenly waking up. As if to punctuate his words, the lights in the medical bay flickered again. Elena clenched her fists. Whatever they had uncovered, it wasn't just a discovery, it was a threat. Days passed, and the situation in the colony grew more dire. The bioenergy surges from the alien became more frequent, disrupting the power systems and causing strange phenomena throughout the colony. Some colonists reported hearing voices in their sleep, whispers that seemed to come from the depths of the planet. Others experienced vivid hallucinations, seeing shadows that weren't there or feeling as though they were being watched. Kai worked tirelessly to keep the geothermal system stable, but the alien cell's energy was interfering with everything. Even communication with Earth had become unreliable. We can survive like this, Elena said one evening as she met with her senior staff in the colony, command center. That thing is going to tear this place apart, whether it means to or not. Sanders, the colony's 30 officer, crossed his arms. Frey, we should have neutralized it the moment it woke up. Now it's too late. Dr. Green, who had recovered enough to attend the meeting, shook his head. Killing it won't resolve anything. Its bioenergy is too powerful. It's tied to the planet itself. If we destroy it, we could trigger something catastrophic. Elena sat back in her chair, rubbing her temples. The weight of command pressed heavily on her. Every decision she made now could mean the difference between life and death for everyone in the colony. We need to find a way to contain it, Elena said. Finally. If we can destroy it, we need to stop it from destroying us. As they worked through the night, Kite came up with a radical plan. The alien bioenergy, she theorized, was not just a threat, it was also a potential source of power. If they could harness it, redirecting the energy into the geothermal systems, they might be able to stabilize the colony, send infrastructure, and prevent further surge. It's risky, Caddy admitted. If anything goes wrong, the energy could overload the systems and wipe us all out. But it's the best option we've got. Elena considered the plan. It was a long shot, but in their current situation, long shots were all I had. Let's do it. Immediately. Stabilizers deep in the tunnels below the tunnel. The goal was to channel the alien's energy into the geothermal systems, using it to fuel the colony rather than destroy it. As they worked, the alien presence grew stronger. The air around the excavation site seemed to hum with bioenergy, and Alina could feel the weight of its gaze on her as she and Kale worked side by side to set up the conduit. This thing, ... it's not just waking up, Parkie said quietly as she connected a power cable to the main conduit. Parkie's watching us. It knows what we were doing. Alina nodded grimly. She could feel it too. As they continued their work deep in the ice tunnels, the atmosphere grew heavier, like the weight of the planet itself was pressing down on them. The alien presence loomed, silent but palpable, making each breath feel like it had to be fought for. Alina could sense it, and Kalia's hands trembled slightly as she connected another cable to the conduit. They were running out of time. The longer the alien remained awake, the more unpredictable it became. Dr. Green was in the control room, monitoring the bioenergy output. His voice crackled over Alina's commands. You need to move faster. The energy levels are spiking. We're approaching a critical threshold. Almost done, Alina muttered, glancing at Kameda for her. How much longer? Kale wiped sweat from her brow, though the cold should have made that impossible, Sierra. A few more minutes. If we don't hit any more snags. Suddenly, the ground beneath them rumbled, ice shifted, and a low, guttural sound reverberated through the tunnel. It wasn't just the groan of the planet. This was something else, something alive. The alien's energy pulsed again, and the lights in the tunnel flickered wildly. Alina's heart pounded as she instinctively reached for her sidearm. Sai-Kwanti, we need to move. Kay worked faster, her fingers flying over the controls as she activated the last of the stabilizers. The conduits hummed to life, glowing faintly as they began to draw in the alien's energy. The plan was working, but the energy surge was too intense, more than they had anticipated. The rumble in the ground grew stronger, and suddenly a massive crack split the ice wall near the alien's resting place. The creature, now fully visible, stirred. Its long, elongated limbs twitched, and its black eyes glowed brighter, locking onto Alina and Kala. It moved with an eerie fluidity, its body shifting and reforming like liquid in the low light. We were not going to make it, Kaya shouted as she backed away from the console. The alien extended one of its arms toward them, and Alina felt a rush of heat and pressure, like standing too close to an explosion. She stumbled back, dragging Kaoli with her as the conduit sparked and sputtered. The alien was fighting back, resisting the attempt to harness its energy. Dr. Green's voice came through the comms, urgent and strained. The system is overloading. The energy levels are rising too fast. You have to shut it down. No, Alina barked back. If we stop now, we lose everything. Kana looked at her, eyes wide with fear. I'll lose the whole colony if this blows. Alina hesitated, her mind racing. They were out of options. She glanced at the alien, its dark, bottomless eyes watching them with a predatory intelligence. It wasn't she just trying to break free. It was learning, adapting to their technology, using it against them. Before Alina could make a decision, the alien let out a low, unearthly sound, a deep vibration that rattled through the walls of the tunnel. It was no longer passive. It was angry. Shut it down, Kana yelled, running for the emergency power switch. Alina grabbed Kaya's arm, stopping her tired. Wait, TL, she shouted over the din. Tai, look at the output. The energy is stabilizing. Kay blinked in confusion, glancing at the console. She was right. Despite the chaos the conduits were holding, drawing in the alien's energy and redirecting it into the geothermal system. The colony's power grid was balancing out, and the lights in the tunnels stopped flickering. We were doing it, Alina said, her voice tight with disbelief. Sorry, working. But just as the words left her mouth, the alien surged forward, faster than she could have anticipated. Its long, sinewy arm lashed out, striking the control console. Sparks flew as the conduit exploded in a shower of light and debris. Kaile screamed as the shockwave threw them both against the tunnel wall. Alina hit the ice hard, the air knocked from her lungs. Her vision blurred, and for a moment, all she could hear was a high-pitched ringing in her ear. She blinked, struggling to clear her head as the alien loomed over them, its form shifting and warping in the flickering light. Kai was on the ground beside her, barely conscious. Alina reached out, shaking her. Kai, get up. The alien drew closer, his black eyes narrowing, and for the first time, Alina felt true fear. This was no longer a battle for survival, it was a confrontation with something far beyond human understanding. The alien wasn't just a creature, it was a force and intelligence that had been dormant for millennia and was now awake, aware, and furious. Dr. Green's voice broke through the static on the comms. Elena, you need to get out of there, now. Alina gritted her teeth, pulling herself to her feet. Art out without Kalai? She muttered, hoisting the unconscious engineer over her shoulder. She could feel the alien stays on her, a cold, heavy presence that seemed to pierce through her very soul. With a last burst of strength, Alina ran. The tunnel shook as the alien let out another pulse of energy, but she kept moving, each step a fight against the overwhelming pressure of the creature's power. Ice cracked and fell around her, and the walls trembled as if they were ready to collapse. She burst through the tunnel entrance and into the open air of the colony, slower levels, gasping for breath. Behind her, the tunnel caved in with a deafening crash, sealing the alien inside for now. Alina collapsed against the wall, her body trembling with exhaustion. She gently lowered Kampai to the ground, checking her vitals, still breathing, still alive. Dr. Green's voice came through again, louder now. Alina, what happened? Did you contain it? Alina took a shaky breath, wiping the sweat from her brow. We didn't contain it, stronger than we thought, but the conduits they were holding for now. There was silence on the other end, and Alina could picture Green's, his mind racing with the implications of what had just happened. We need to evacuate, Alina said. Finally, only one tea last much longer. Can't you just leave? Green protested. This is the discovery of a lifetime. Alina clenched her fist. Green was silent for a moment before responding, his voice quieter. Now, there might be another way, a way to contain it without destroying the colony. Alina's heart sank. She knew what he was going to suggest. You were talking about using the alien's energy as a power source, aren't you? It's already integrated into the geothermal system. If we can stabilize the energy flow, we can harness it, control it. It seems risky, but it's our only chance. Alina stood up, her body sore and aching from the ordeal. She glanced at the collapsed tunnel, then at Kai, who was still unconscious at her feet. The alien was still down there, buried, but not defeated. They had bought themselves a little time, but that was all. All right, Alina said after a long pause. Let's do it. She would give Green one last chance to fix this, but deep down, Alina knew the truth. The alien wasn't just a life form they could study or control. It was a force of nature, and they had unleashed it. Now they had to find a way to survive it. Hours later, Alina stood in the colony, command center, her hands gripping the edge of the control console as she watched the bioenergy readings on the screen. Green was in the geothermal plant, directing the flow of energy through the colony's side-quad power system. The conduits were still holding, but barely. The alien's energy was overwhelming, constantly pushing against their fragile containment system. Wait, how much longer? Alina asked, her voice tight with tension. Green's voice came through the comms, strained and distant. We're almost there. I just need to make a few more adjustments. Alina glanced at the readouts. The power levels were rising again, dangerously close to overload. If Green couldn't stabilize the flow, soon the whole system would blow, taking the colony and everyone in it with it. Green, we're running out of time, she warned. I know, Green snapped. Just give me a minute. Alina's heart raced as she watched the numbers climb higher. She could feel the pressure building in the air, a low hum that vibrated through the walls of the command center. The alien Sarah's presence was growing stronger, more aggressive. It was fighting them, pushing back against their attempts to contain it. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and the ground beneath her feet rumbled. Alina's breath caught in her throat as the command center's monitors flashed red. An alarm blared, and the screen displayed a single word: overload. Green, she shouted into the comms, eerie re-overloading. Shut it down. There was no response. Alina's stomach twisted with fear. She slammed her hand against the comms panel. Green, do you hear me? Still nothing. She glanced at Kaidi, who had regained consciousness and was monitoring the systems from a nearby terminal. Kaya, can you shut it down from here? Kaida's fingers flew over the controls, her expression grim. Kaya, I am trying, but the energy flow said too unstable. We were losing control. Dave? Alina cursed under her breath. She had trusted Green to handle this. And now they were all going to pay the price. Without warning, a deafening roar echoed through the colony, shaking the walls and rattling the console. Elena's eyes widened as the floor beneath her cracked, jagged fissures, spreading outward like spiderweb. The alien Seth's energy had reached critical mass. "Get out," Elena shouted, grabbing Kali's arm and pulling her toward the exit. They ran the ground trembling beneath their feet as the alien bioenergy tore through the colony's infrastructure. Elena could feel the heat of the surge behind her, the air thick with static and tension. It was like running through the heart of a storm, the very fabric of reality warping around them. They burst out of the command center and into the open, the sky above them, dark and swirling with energy. The alien was awake now, fully aware, and it was no longer content to stay buried in the ice. Its power surged through the planet, shaking the ground, splitting the ice, and sending jagged shards into the air. Elena glanced back at the colony, the biodomes cracking and collapsing one by one. There was no saving it. Now the alien had won. But as she looked out across the horizon, she saw something that made her heart stop. The ice was breaking everywhere. The alien's energy wasn't just confined to the colony. It was spreading, reaching out across the entire planet. In the distance, Elena saw the ground rise and fall as if the planet itself was breathing. The alien's bioenergy had awakened something far more powerful than any of them had realized. And now, there was no stopping it.